couple of the things to consider before buying that car, can, sport, or trash thing is making sure that your hitch falls within a couple of specifications. If you had anything smaller than a 2-inch receiver hitch, that you can actually buy adapters. You're not really, I don't think you'd be overloading, a smaller hitch, but this one is a 2-inch receiver hitch. And the other thing to consider is hitch height. This company has designed their hitch with multiple adjustment locations along with the actual hitch piece itself. Not only can you slide it in and out with 2 positions, but you can also adjust the height. Each one of these holes is actually usable. Initially, when looking at this, I was thinking to myself, well, that bottom hole, if that's a blind hole, then you're never going to be able to attach it. But technically, if you have a long enough socket, you'll be able to reach all the way in there. So that's nice. And then on each one of the actual base brackets, which that's what this is called. This is called a base bracket. So each one of the base brackets, when you look at that, has also multiple adjustments. And so you're using 4 holes on each. So you've got 1 position here, 2nd position, 3rd position, and that's basically raising and lowering the height of actually this, which is called the base plate. So the other thing to consider before buying this product is if in fact you have the correct type of barrel. This right here, this is the type of barrel that you're going to need in order for this to work. And this bar that's right here, this is what you're going to be looking for. So you're going to need to measure your hitch height, and it needs to fall within 12 to 28 inches. And I'm assuming that might be like the center line. So when you take your tape out and measure it, you want to make sure that from the ground to basically that center line of the hitch, which is, that receiver section, that you're between 12 and 28 inches. I'm sure there's other kinds of adjustments that you could do if you can fabricate something, but just to keep things, as they are, the way that the company has designed it, you want to go ahead and keep it like that. And that bottom of the base should be within 2 to 3 inches of that actual lift bar. And I'm assuming, again, that they're thinking like a center line, but that's also why they say within 2 to 3 inches. So what I did is I just figured I'd lay out the parts, just kind of showing you what's in the package for contents. And it's got all sorts of brackets and adjustment pieces. That's the actual section that slides into your receiver hitch. So a couple of things that you're going to want to keep in mind first is that this style of can sporter accommodates hitches between 12 and 28 inches. If we take a tape measure and we measure for this hitch right here, we can see where we're at about 14.5 inches of height. So we're right within that hitch height that's recommended. First step that we're going to do right now is we're going to install that adjustable receiver mount and throw the pin in it. You want to take this and you want to go ahead and just slide it in. And for now, what we're going to do is we're going to leave it so that we've got it at the first pinhole, which is right there. And then you take your pin and you slide your pin in, and then take your clip, and that's what it should look like. Next, we're going to start the basic assembly of this unit. This is the actual bar that attaches to this section, and don't install it this way because if you do, you're going to be missing 2 attachment holes that are right here. We went out, we measured the can. The can came in at, 17.25 inches high. So we're going to make sure that when we do this, is we know that the can's height, or at least that lift bar anyway, is 17.25 inches. And when we took our tape measure, and when we measure down, we can see where our 17 lays out, but because of the way things are adjusted, and they said they want 2 to 3 inches, I'm actually going to go for the top mounting holes, and I'll show you why I'm doing that. So take your 3.5 inch bolts, which that's measured, even though it says 3 5/8, that is measured 3.5 for that bolt right there. I'm going to take 2 bolts, I'm going to install them into the bracket right now. into the dual lift bar, or whatever you want to call this thing. Throw those in. Just like that. Yeah. And then I'm going to take 2 washers and 2 of the nylock nuts. And that'll be installed on the back side here. And everything right now is just loose fit, just to basically throw things together. Then the next bolt that you've got is a probably maybe like a 2.5. It actually measures 2 3/4. So this 2 3/4 bolt is then going to slide through that section, and that's going to receive also a washer and a nylock nut. I'm going to take one of the base brackets and I'm going to install that on this side right here. I'm going to take the other base bracket and install it on that section. So for this, bolts that you're going to need, I guess you could call them 1.5 inches. And what I want to do is measure from the bottom to there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go for the second hole from the bottom. Throw that in. Just take 2 washers, throw them on, 2 nylocks. Make sure you get the right side facing, otherwise it's not going to screw on. Just like that. Now what I want to do is take my tape measure and measure and see what I've got to that base. And right now I'm looking at 19 inches to that base, and it's slightly tilted down. So once I get the other side on there, it should even up. Pretty even now. So the bottom of that now comes in at about 19 inches. Yeah, I think we're good. So now what I can do is go ahead and just tighten up these 2 brackets right here. I'm going to use my impact, my 1/4 inch impact for that. Appears like the size that they gave you is a 14 millimeter. You can see that. Focus. Focus. Focus, you. Come on. Yeah, whatever. This camera will focus, I bet. There's 14 millimeter right there. So the bolt head itself is a 14, and the nut end is actually a 13. Stick that on the end there. Give it a crank real quick. And we'll do the same thing to the actual to these bolts here. So just kind of tack it up real quick. Take my speed square, and you hear that noise? That's the noise of it being absolutely flat. I'm going to go ahead, run my bottom bolt down. The back side now. So now I've got basically all these pieces lined up to where I need them to be. What I want to do now is I'm actually going to pull the pin. I'm going to take this out. going to go ahead and reinstall it, keeping it within that second hole. Throw the pin in, and that's what it looks like, basically installed as a unit. Now what we have to do is go ahead and actually install the lift arms. And because I want to keep basically fasteners looking the same, I am going to shoot it in through that side right there. You don't want to crank that down too much, because if you do, you're going to end up actually pinching that too much where this actually wouldn't move. So they do have these right here to kind of like keep that from happening, but no. So looks like that looks good. So we're going to go ahead and now grab that side. Same thing. Your what, 3 3/4 bolts, I think I said that was. Right now is lining up that bolt because I'm trying to stay out of the way of the camera. Again, camera issues. And just take your nylock, throw that on. I'm going to impact it down, nice and easy. Not too tight. Might back that off just a touch. There we go. Perfect. I'm using a combination of 14 and 13 inch wrenches and 14 and 13 inch sockets with my 1/4 inch impact. And the reason why we're doing that is because sometimes you got to flip-flop which side you're going to do. So this is what the can sporter actually looks like, the trash cart carrier. Basically all installed, all ready to go. We're good. We have no extra parts. Just make sure you go ahead and torque down all your bolts, all your nuts. Make sure things do work freely, like that.
3 weeks later.
We've had a project, we've been waiting for it to come back, and it was for this vehicle right here, primarily making use of this hitch with what's behind door number 1. So this piece of equipment right here is called a can sporter. And you saw the video, or at least you saw the production. So now what we're finally going to be able to do, install this, which is a Curt 2-inch extension. We're going to install it on the back of this receiver hitch here. Slide in your Curt receiver hitch, preferably this way. Install your pin. Make sure you put your safety clevis pin in there so it doesn't back out. And now the hitch has been extended. Obviously you got to make sure that the door is shut. You can't install it while it's open. Pull the pin. Install the can sporter. And depending upon what type of extension you have, dictates how far you can push this can sporter in. As I'm going to demonstrate how you actually take those barrels right there and put them onto the can sporter. Little locking lever right here, and what you do is right now it's in the lock position, so the lock position is actually up. And you can see it's got like a little detent right there, so when you slide this down, basically lifts up on those little locking arms. And that is on both sides, which then allows this unit to actually come down. Now that it's in that lock position, take it and flip it down, and you can see that these pieces actually go down. And what happens is as you lift it up, it locks into position. And then when you push down on this lever and lock it into that little cam side, you watch, when you push forward, it goes up, and then you're allowed to go down. So I think one of the things that's most important about this is making sure that you remember to operate this little lever right here, because it does have a little detent right there, and you want to make sure that each time you do it, that it's ready to go up and lock. Because if you don't, if you left it there, you're going to be going like this, and let's just say all of a sudden it kind of stayed in place, and as you drive away, it's going to do that. So do that latch like how I had said. Lift forward. You can hear it unlock. Down and away. What we'll do is we'll set it up again. Release the lock. Lift forward. Latched. 2 barrels into the mix. So, come around, lock that latch down, push forward, away. We're going to swap it up. Make sure that these are now in the locking position. Get back, up to it, lift forward, locked. Do the same thing with this one. Done. For the 9th time. If you don't know how to do that, I mean, just give up.